Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Vaughn Lane. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in, all that good stuff. We got a lot to talk about this morning, and we're actually going to start with recruiting, something we haven't started with in a while. So, Jerry, I'm going to let you take the lead on that.
Yeah, Texas staff's on the road, but they're working to secure, lock in, whatever you want to call it, official visitors for June that are still out there as possibilities. And Damari Simeon's the latest one. He made a visit, the defensive lineman from St. Augustine and Richmond, New Jersey, Garden State guy. He came in bigger than expected, weighed 289 pounds at almost 6'3". I think he's one of the best defensive tackle prospects in the country. But he's going to be currently scheduled to be at Texas June 13th through 15th, according to a longtime source in the industry that lives in New Jersey. Tennessee is involved. He went down there March 7th for an unofficial visit. Penn State's involved. Ohio State's involved. Auburn, Texas A&M. Rutgers is going to try, obviously, but had a great visit to Austin April 12th. It was his first ever visit to Texas. And as has happened with a number of guys here, Texas is setting up official visits after that. What does that mean for his recruitment? No way to know. Honestly, I mean, you got to bring him back, see where all this goes, from an NIL perspective. But the one thing I will say is that Texas's defensive line net is gotten wider nationally, and it's a ray of snow on the field. And it's a really talented group. I mean, Kendall Gerville was in last weekend. He's coming in for an official visit. Bryce Perry Wright out of Buford is that 5 tech, maybe growing to a 3. He's coming in. Vodney Cleveland's coming in. That Jamion Winfield's still scheduled to be in, but that list of defensive linemen that are scheduled to officially visit Texas is right where you want to be if you're Texas. And again, to me, it's more of no matter who I like, who people like in the chat, who we always discuss. To me, it's more of the numbers game in ensuring you sign 3 or 4. The number could go as high as 4 from what we're hearing. To sign 3 or 4 really talented players on the defensive front. One guy over the ball, probably 2 disruptors, and we'll see what a 4th spot would be if they take one. But the net has been cast wide, and this kid's very talented, and I was really excited that Texas brought him down on an official after watching him play, because I think he's got tremendous get off. He plays strong. He plays a great pad level for a young kid most of the time. I mean, all those guys are high at times, but he has a little more pop out of his stance. But Texas has a really good group scheduled to come in June.
Jerry, one of the things that catches me here, he's from New Jersey. Now, Texas went up to get Sadir Mitchell a few years back, so that's Kyle Flood's stomping grounds. But obviously, Kenny Baker recruiting the defensive tackle, correct?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. And Murad, another thing that I think is important is Murad Watson, the young man out of Syracuse that Texas just signed the transfer portal, is also in New Jersey, from New Jersey. Are they doing, and there's also a defensive end out of the Princeton school, I think or the Hun school that's visited Texas as well. Are they doing more in Jersey, or is this more spot recruiting?
I think it's just spot recruiting because the defensive line class nationally isn't as strong as 2025. And there's really good players, but depth-wise. I mean, like last year, even the state of Georgia had like 30 Power 4 defensive linemen alone. I mean, it was unbelievable in the Southeast region last year. Every year can't be like that, even in the Southeast region. So this is more going across the country looking for the very best football players they can find. And this one's Richland's actually down towards Atlantic City, not an area of Texas. Kyle Flood, when he's recruited guys in Jersey, it's been northern Jersey. It's been more that Hun school in Princeton. It's been more Oradell, closer up to the city, the Brunswick areas and that. But this one is down south towards Atlantic City. But it's more Texas just going to find the best players they can around the country at whatever position that is. If the state doesn't have depth, even if they think this guy's better than some in the Southeast region, which I actually agree with in this class.
Makes sense. Hey, happy May to everyone. New month. April close out. Yeah. Got that coming up. Texas State track meet begins today, correct, Blake and Jerry? And I made a kind of impassioned plea. I want just going to say this before we get to our sponsor, but if you've never been to a state track meet at the University of Texas, okay, and you just happen to be hanging out somewhere like Pflugerville or Bastrop or Buda or somewhere in Austin, Westlake, and have never been to a Texas state track meet. Jerry and I were talking about this prior to going on air this morning. If you've never been to one, take your kids, your young ones, go hang out. If you're an older guy, just go one time to the Texas state track meet, because it can be addictive. I mentioned this, Jerry, and I know you and I agree. When the basketball state championships were held at the Drum in Austin, it was a special experience. It's the similar type feel in track and field in Austin. I mean, everybody converges on Austin from the smallest town to the biggest. There's cars with shoe polish in the windows and streamers on the antenna. There's yellow school buses. And then you get in the stands, and I mean, you're elbow to elbow, and people are rooting for their kids, or they're just rooting for a good competition even. But I'm just telling you, if you have a chance and never done it before, it's a once a year event, 3 days in Austin at Mike Myers Stadium. I would suggest you give it a roll. Just try. You and I, we've been so many times. It's just fun. It's one of those things that's fun.
I will say this: if there's actually maybe 2 special freshman sprinters in the state of Texas. C.E. King, the kid Dylan Mitchell, I think we've talked about him before. Yep. He qualified for state with a 10.10. There's a freshman at Cypress Springs who qualified for state as a freshman at 10.17. We've never had 2 freshmen in the state of Texas qualify at those numbers.
Never.
The number one time, Braden Williams out of Duncanville, 9.95. If you run outside 10.17, 10.2 in the 100 meters, it's going to take 10.15 to medal next week. This in 6A. It's going to take 10.15. And there's 2 freshmen that have a chance to do it. We've never had 2 freshmen running times like that in the state of Texas. And there's not as many. Look, the state track meets changed a little bit because there's not as many football prospects you would know because they all graduate from high school early.
Yes, yeah.
So it's more like now there's a junior receiver at Iowa Colony that qualified for state at 10.36. Texas has recruited him, but they haven't really offered him. There's a 2027 wide receiver out of Barbers Hill that'll be running the 100 meters, a big kid, like 6'2", 195. He qualified at 10.50. That's a guy that's on Texas's radar in 2027 for sure. But there's 2 special freshmen at 6A level running track, running the 100 meters. And it's nothing. The state's times get faster and faster. We do miss a lot of our football prospects that aren't there that give people a reason to go sometimes. But I'm here to tell you, we talk about all the talent in basketball and football in the state, but the sprinters, the young sprinters in this state, we may have a couple of Olympians coming up from what people tell me.
Yeah, legitimate. But I will say this. It's not just the sprints that are fun at the state meet. I mean, it's everything. It can be the 3,200 meter, and all of a sudden they're out there competing, and then the final lap comes, and everybody's on their feet, And I just think it's one of the great underseen things that go on in high school sports, not just in Texas, but around the world, around the country. I mean, it's just phenomenal. All right, we need to say thank you, and want to say thank you to our friends over at Vaughn Lane. Get on the bus, guys. You've tried flying, you've tried driving. Now it's time to upgrade to Vaughn Lane. It's the smarter way to travel between major Texas cities. Let's face it, flying is a hassle. Security lines, packed gates, delayed flights, all for a 50-minute trip. It's just not worth it. Driving yourself isn't much better. Ever tried a same-day round trip between Dallas and Austin? You end up exhausted at the end of the day. You have hours of lost productivity as well, whether it's work left undone while you focus on the road or what have you. Why waste the day when you could stay connected and productive, or get a nap in between your two cities with Von Lane. Von Lane changes everything. It's luxury regional bus travel, what some call a private jet on wheels. Sink into a plush leather seat with a leg rest. Stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi. Enjoy complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures. If you need to freshen up, indulge in hot towel service, want to relax, they've got eye masks, pillows, and blankets to keep you cozy. Von Lane and the team takes care of every detail for you so you can sit back, unwind, and enjoy the most comfortable travel experience on the road. Business travelers recapture your productivity. Leisure travelers sit back, relax, and get pampered. And if you're planning a football game, concert, special event, you can charter your own Von Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. Von Lane is first-class travel without the hassle. See for yourself. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com. Use promo code OTF25 for your first for $20 off your first trip. Von Lane, just the better way to travel between the Texas major cities, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Houston as well. One thing that I love about them is that all of their departures are easy to get to, easy parking. They typically use major hotels as the parking areas. So it's not somewhere downtown where you have to worry about where your car is parked, et cetera. It's really safe, et cetera. VonLane.com.
Okay, y'all. A hot topic in the conversation this morning is about this $40 million roster. William Niche says, let's hear about this $48 million roster. Kurt says, is it true that Texas is spending between $35 and $40 million on the current roster? Bobby?
I think it's certainly feasible. I mean, I think that before I sit here and go down list by list, I think that that's a feasible number, clearly. And I don't think Texas is going to be alone in that. Look, I mean, the market has gone up, and I think they spent 25 to 30 last year. So why wouldn't you think 35 to 40 this year? And Ohio State will do the same. Florida will do the same. Yeah, I think that the interesting thing is, the interesting thing to me is that people are making this out to be a big deal when it's been coming this whole time. And so when I tell you guys, this is the other piece that I get at with you guys. When I tell you guys they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle, this is what I'm talking about. If it's 35 million, just give me a round ballpark, like 35 million. Okay. They're going to try to curb that back to 15 million. That's going to be more than a 50% haircut for everybody. Just rotate or logistically. How are they going to do that? You know, somebody's asking, where's the ceiling on this? Dwayne, this is why I keep saying and harping on this point. There is no ceiling until you get collective bargaining. Okay. The ceiling, the NCAA is trying to institute a ceiling retroactively by making NIL more of what NIL was supposed to be. But I just don't think you're going to be able to put the genie back in the bottle as easily as the NCAA hopes to. And that's why even though Steve Sarkisian doesn't think these guys want to be, and ladies want to be employees, I think they need to be in order to collectively bargain and get a larger percentage of the pie. I don't have any. Look, the University of Texas makes $335 million off its athletic program on an annualized basis. Okay. You're telling me that the athletes are getting 10% of that? Well, in the NFL, the athletes get 50% of that. I mean, what's the outrage? There shouldn't really be, if you think about it. I mean, 10% versus 50%. If I'm collectively bargaining for all of this, I'm not starting at 10%. I'm going to start at least at 50% and then see where I go from there. And what's happened also, and I want to say this, they're trying to say, well, it's 20% of the average Division I school. That $20 million figure, of which 15 will be for football. Well, Texas isn't average. The New York Yankees aren't average. The LA Dodgers aren't average. The Dallas Cowboys, even though he spins like it sometimes, are not average. And so my point being, if they want to go this direction, they need to be more realistic, because the rules as they sit right now, frankly, they benefit the bigger schools that can then just pay 10% of their amount out, as opposed to 50%. So I have no problem. And people that are aghast at this number, it's just reality. I can tell you that Ohio State ain't going to be any different. Florida ain't going to be any different. Y'all think they are, and it's just not.
And what'll be interesting is once the House settlement passes, and then there's a soft cap, let's call it. I think we're going back to old recruiting in a lot of areas.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's going to be that. That's what'll lead to employment.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is, say, I don't know, player X that was making 100,000 all of a sudden has to make 35 because the cap's going into place, or whatever. Well, you know what? Old Joe down at the car dealer is going to give him a free car, even though he doesn't. It's not true NIL, and he's going to be back up to 100. And Texas is not willing to do that unless it's by the law. They weren't willing to do it before. They're not going to be willing to do it now. And so you're going to give schools that have historically flaunted the law back. You're going to let them back in the game by doing it. At least Texas is doing it above board, guys. I mean, Florida above board, Ohio State above board, just SMU above board.
Where this is going to get very interesting, though, is for me is like everybody's in the chat's got great points talking about Brian Alfaro, lots of lawsuits when they try and limit NIL. And other people have talked about things like that as well. Here's where it gets interesting, though, for me. Right now, it's not really NIL. So what is the value if these guys go out and have to raise true off their name, image, and likeness? See, that to me, that's the big difference. This is where it's always been a slippery slope for the athletes, is if it gets to a point where it gets into being a employee and everything we're talking about here, their numbers are actually going to go down if we ever get the real NIL. So this is pay for play. It's pay for play now. So the numbers right now aren't true NIL. And that's going to be where it gets interesting moving forward. And look, I'm for the players being paid, but I'm also for real name, image, and likeness. So right now, that's not where we're at in college sports.
But here's my point to you. They're going to go down so much that players are going to say, well, wait a minute. We don't want to be employed. They're saying right now, maybe, or at least some of them are, we don't want to be employees. If your amount of money you're getting paid goes down by 50 to 75%, you're going to all of a sudden want to be an employee.
Right. That's where it's always been headed.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do think the number is closer to 35 than 40. For those out there wanting to put that into the category. So there we go.
But now here's the question, Bobby. When it eventually gets to, and I say they, at college athletes become employees, are we saying it's not NIL anymore and it's just salary?
Should be a salary cap. That's what it is now. It's pay for play now. I mean, it's pay for play now for the most part.
So my question is, are we actually going to move from NIL to salary pay for play, and NIL just kind of got the ball rolling?
Yes. NIL got the ball rolling.
So we're going to eventually go away from name, image, and likeness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that'll be part of it. It won't be the only part of it.
Yeah.
So it'll be under an umbrella of a larger piece. That's my point. So I feel strongly that that's where this is headed. The NCAA, because of their own malice, in my opinion, for 30 plus years, where after they started signing these billion-dollar contracts to not pay the athletes money was just short-sighted. And now they're having to pay the just desserts, in my opinion. I mean, I think it is what it is. Look, I do think it's gotten out of control, but it's of their own doing. The athletes had no part in this.
Well, anytime you get agents involved, it gets out of control.
Well, it's not even agents. These guys aren't agents. That's the other part. But
you know,
the NCAA has done such a horrible job. The agents are unregulated because they're not really agents. They're dads who think they know more. Or, I mean, there's a quarterback in Tennessee that transferred to UCLA. I might be talking.
But there's a lot of agents involved, Bobby, too.
Most of them are not what I would call agents.
And they're taking 20%.
Yeah, I know.
It's
ridiculous.
By the way, taking 20%.
It's all the NCAA's own doing. I'll just put it that way. And member schools. I don't say this lightly. I think that the member schools just nodded their heads and kept cashing the checks. Texans included. No one's perfect. So, anyways, I'm sorry. Someone said the NCAA was not created. The NCAA was not created to manage the situation that NIL created. That's correct. That's why we've been talking that the NCAA need to update its entire situation.
So basically our window to win right now is because the House settlement's going to ruin things for us. I don't know about that. I think everything's a process that just has to keep playing out over time. Now I will say this: if House settlement goes through and there starts to be a soft cap, we are going back to old style recruiting. Make no mistake about it. I mean, we're going back to duffel bags and trunks of cars now. In some areas, make no mistake, it's happening. It's coming.
But not with Texas.
Yeah.
Which is what RW is talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that Texas is going to be fine. They definitely are fine in 2025 because everything's getting grandfathered in. I think that there will be plenty of legal action taking place before even December of this year if the House settlement goes through.
Okay, let's see here. USA Today, guys, came out with a post-spring top 25, and I thought we could take a look at it. I don't have a pretty graphic, but I got it in
Who's number one, Blake?
So number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Penn State. Number 3 is, of course, Texas. 4, Georgia. 5, Clemson. LSU, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, Miami. Close out your top 10. Other opponents of note, guys, Florida. Sitting there at 11, and I got OU at 25.
Okay, so leave this up. We got a lot to unpack with this one. So Ohio State won the title. I think that's why they remain 1, right? You're number 1 until you get knocked off because that's the only way somebody can rank Ohio State 1. Let's be real. They lost both coordinators, quarterback, the most draft picks in the draft, the most starters gone from a team. They lost the most of anybody. But they are defending champs. So I think that's why they have them 1, because certainly, if you rank a team 1, I'm not sure a team's ever been ranked 1 to start a season that lost the most starters and lost both coordinators. Maybe Nick Saban, but maybe he had a season like that. But they lost a lot off the field with their system, with their coordinators. So they're going through some changes in talent-wise, and they're going to have a first-year starting quarterback. I think Penn State is going to be a popular 1 or 2 pick preseason. They return quarterback, 2 great running backs, and a lot of really good players. I mean, James Franklin's done a really good job of evaluation and development there. He really has. I think Georgia, and we're going to look at Georgia's schedule a little later in the show. I think they're the overrated team I see right now. They just lost way too much for me.
Yeah, I think Clemson's overrated. Now they played a conference that's going to be kind to them at some level. But I think
Tom Allen's the whole key for them, right? I mean, if as a DC, if he comes in and makes a big difference, then they probably are 12-2 team.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, I don't see that. I mean, Tom Allen he's not going to have Abdul Carter at Clemson. He did. I mean, people are saying Peter Woods is really good, and he is good, but Peter Woods isn't necessarily a top 10 pick. It did play like it against Texas, that's for sure. My thought process here, and Jerry, I look at Ohio State and Penn State. I think that's fine. I think Texas at 3 is fine. Georgia historically has kind of ended in that range the last several years. That's fine. The one school that we have not talked enough about, or two really, are Oregon and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Oregon, because they lose Dylan Gabriel, nobody's really talking about them, right? Is it going to be Dante Moore, or is it going to be Austin Novosad, the Dripping Springs product?
Dante Moore, all the way.
Okay, well, let's see. My point is, who's going to do that, and is he going to be as good as Dylan Gabriel? And then Oregon lost a lot to the draft too, so are they going to be able to reboot like a Texas did a year ago? Notre Dame, I think that is a team that, I mean, they played in the national final last year. I think, and they did not lose much in the draft.
Well, I think to me, that's what, like, Marcus Freeman's coaching job was kind of amazing, that they did not have a lot of high-end NFL draft talent on that team. What's interesting also when you look at that, and look, they arguably have the best running back in the country and some really good young players on that team. But Ohio State, new quarterback; Texas, new quarterback; Georgia, new quarterback; Notre Dame, new quarterback; Oregon, new quarterback; Alabama, new quarterback; Miami, new broken down quarterback; Tennessee, new quarterback; Michigan, new quarterback. It's a very much Ole Miss new quarterback. Yep. Arizona State's being slept on, by the way, on this, because I think Sam Levitt's really
here's the number one team that's being slept on because they're not even in it. Texas Tech's going to be good next year.
Them or Arizona State will go to the playoff.
Yeah, it won't be. I mean, like, Iowa State is not. Texas Tech will be in the top 25, in my opinion. People are underestimating what they did in the portal if they're not in this top 20, in my opinion.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, they will have as strange as it sounds, they will have a top 20 most talented team, maybe a top 15, top 10 type talented team. That's how much Cody Campbell spent in the portal. They're mega donor. Okay. And so I would caution anybody that doesn't have them in their top 25 at this point. Yeah, and this is true. They're a quarterback away. If Baron Morton can't play, who they got? That's what Jerry and I talked about. I mean, he went out and spent all this money, and then, you know, I'm not so sure that they did enough. What about BYU in the Big 12? Possibility. I don't know enough about BYU. I got to be honest, because the last year I watched them, they were horrible in Austin. I didn't really watch them. I watched them in 2 games last year. Obviously, they had a huge turnaround year. Not sure what all that means, but
so as far as NFL talent coming back, Alabama is pretty high on that list,
especially on defense.
As is Clemson. That will be interesting. I think an interesting team for me in the SEC is going to be South Carolina. Can they because Sellers can get you to a playoff, but can they put enough pieces around him? Because you still have to put pieces around these guys. Vince Young, Cam Newton, these guys they both had a lot of pieces around them. Can South Carolina put enough pieces around Lenore Sellers? Because if they do, that guy will get South Carolina to the playoff. But can they put enough pieces around him to be one of those 4 or 5 SEC teams? That's going to be the question. Then Florida, South Carolina lost a lot of key players living rent free. I agree. And that's kind of what I wonder. Do they have the NIL ability to really put the pieces around Lenore Sellers to where they rise in the SEC, and you're sitting there with Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Florida. I mean, right, Tennessee, they're 7th in the SEC on this list alone right here. can they put enough if they can put the pieces around Sellers will jump over a couple of these teams and it might sneak them into the playoffs, in my opinion. I think he's going to be that good a player. And we're about to talk about Georgia's schedule, Jackson Miles, because I had somebody predict to me that they thought that Georgia was going to lose 4 games next year, and we got to look at that.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big.
I'll believe that when I see it. They're talented. The one team that I thought was overranked, if you put that back real quick, overranked, Michigan.
Agree.
I think that they lost 5 games last year. I don't think they're going to be appreciably better this year. They lost too much talent. Why do you think they're going to be better? Because they'll have better quarterback play from a true freshman.
They've lost
in their spring game.
No, they've lost too much the last 2 years.
Yeah. 3 really even.
Yeah.
To your point, Jerry. Harbaugh had that going. It ain't going no more. Not in the same way.
Nah. Larry Ellison's got some work to do.
Yep.
Well, we have more to talk about this morning, and we also got to get to y'all's questions, which we'll do here in a little bit. But first, I'm going to tell everyone out there about Timeline's Mitopure. If you work out, it's a supplement that you're going to want to add to your daily regimen because it supports your health at the foundation by encouraging cellular renewal. And even if you don't work out, you need to add Mitopure to your daily routine. It's a precise dose of the rare postbiotic urolithin A, and it works by promoting an essential cellular cleanup process that clears out your cell's battery packs. There's a lot of products out there that claim to make you stronger. They claim to pack on muscle, but Timeline's Mitopure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. They don't just claim it, they deliver on it. And I can tell you that I personally love it because I recover a lot more quickly from my workouts. I can tell a tremendous difference with it. I also have more energy because of it, which is, well, an added bonus in my book. Mitopure is the research-backed innovation that unlocks your fullest potential. Awaken the strength, power, and resilience already in you with the first and only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. And right now, Timeline is offering 10% off your order of Mitopure. All you have to do is just go to timeline.com/ontexas. That's Timeline, TIMELINE.com/ontexas, and take advantage of that 10% off. Okay, well, another hot topic, and we'll start actually with this question here from Lou Dog, because it's been talked about in the chat a little bit, is Nick Brooks. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, Bobby, but some new details have come out. I'm going to let you touch on that.
Nick Brooks, if I were to advise you, young man, I would say you don't have to tell him everything. That's the best way to do it. He got picked up. We talked about it yesterday. He got picked up over the weekend for DWI or DUI. I'm not even sure what it is anymore. But it was for marijuana, not for alcohol, apparently or allegedly. And Nick was very forthcoming about that in his conversation with the arresting officers. I don't know where this is going to end for him. And I just go back, Blake and Jerry, to what we talked about yesterday and what Tony Hill said. Tony had a great line. When you're a young cat, you're eating rats. When you're an older guy, if you want to be a lion, you got to eat bigger prey and got to up your game. Nick Brooks, you have to up your game. And I don't mean by a different line of drug. I mean you have to bring it up a notch, period. And what you're trying to accomplish, et cetera. So long story short, I just hope the best for him. We don't have any new news. There's no, to my knowledge, Jerry, Sark's last comment on the matter was on Monday. He said he was aware of it and he was in contact, but he wasn't going any further at that point. We don't have any breaking news as it relates to Nick Brooks or what might occur there. But I will say that this is something that you probably get one chance. I'm not sure you get two.
Yeah.
And so Nick Brooks is going to have to maybe change his ways a little.
Bobby Petronic made me laugh. Charlie Sheen approves.
Hey,
there was a 2.5 minute
But
episode.
this is not winning. This is not winning.
There's also a 2.5 minute episode to the level to this. I could go really like show like beyond my age and go like Kenny Rogers, the gambler, knowing to hold him, knowing to fold him, knowing to walk away. Okay,
Yeah.
like maybe that applies here.
Know when to run.
We have a super chat regarding this as well from Jay Lee, and Jay Lee says Brooks had a THC pen. How could a kid smoke weed? Are the players not drug tested? And if so, how often?
You know, I think they still are drug tested, but I don't know how often. And I will say that THC and cannabis has been, it's just been rampant for 30 years in college sports, 40. So I think that I'm not, and I want to say this. I mean, certainly if you're a high performing athlete, et cetera, you just, but a lot of these guys use it medically for bumps and bruises. I mean, truly. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I don't know that was him. Not saying that or pretending that. But I don't know what even the drug testing policy is anymore, because frankly, nobody talks about it. When's the last time you've heard about talking about drug testing policy that wasn't involved in an Olympic sport? You know, other than, I think I will say this. I think drug testing nowadays is looking more for performance enhancing drugs, which marijuana is not one. So they're looking for steroids, human growth hormone, that sort of stuff. I don't think they're actually looking for illicit drugs.
Yeah, somebody posted a ghost of UT boy in the chat. Hello, ghost of UT boy. If you're the ghost of UT boy, nephew played at A&M. They're given specific dates. The testing is scheduled, and they get to pick the number of players. A lot of times, at least that's the way it was the last time I really checked on it. I think the other thing here is, look, I'm not sitting up here on some high horse, but I will say this. Being in the teen kid world recently and dealing with teen kids and talking to kids, the vaping is much more addictive for kids. From everything I've learned and heard, that's a concern for youth on my end, period. That stuff's very, very addictive, much more addictive than anything kids have had in front of them. They have to be careful, man.
Yeah. I would say this too. I mean, look, Jerry, you and I know, I mean, there have been guys whose careers have been ruined by this at the University of Texas. So I'm not trying to, I want to be clear to everyone. I am not trying to take it with just a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to explain it away at all. It is serious. I get it. I have seen more serious things, is what I would say. And I have seen people overcome this. And hopefully sometimes a early catch on this helps something move forward that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping for with Nick Brooks, is that they got this early and now he's on notice.
Yeah. And look, he's holding the lottery ticket. Think about how Tony Hills talked about him yesterday. Okay. This is a guy who hadn't even played a college football game. And Tony Hills said, it didn't come out and say it, but like a couple of other people told me, this kid will be a first round pick. Okay. So Nick's holding the winning lottery ticket. Is he going to tear it in half, or is he going to cash it in? It's up to him. It really is. That's why we talk about it all the time. It's the talent maximization contest with all these kids. And for Nick, you're holding the winning lottery ticket, dude. Cash that thing in 3 years. Don't tear it in half in year one.
All right. On a much lighter note, we have a super chat from MP Houston. And MP Houston says 80,000 subscribers. Boom, as Bobby would say. Hook 'em, gents.
Boom. No doubt. Thank y'all, everybody that's made On Texas Football what it is. When we started it, we tried to make someplace that Texas fans could just feel comfortable and learn about the team. And hopefully that's indicative of the subscriber numbers that we have here at On Texas Football.
And if there's 20K extra out there that y'all know that want to come make fun of me and Blake and Josie, just come up, bring them on. Bring them on. The 100K celebration is going to be something.
Jerry,
let me hit this. What about PJ Haggerty? Texas is not in the market for PJ Haggerty, the basketball transfer out of Memphis, who's originally from Crosby, Texas. That one is not a possibility or somewhere Texas is going. I'll let you know if something drastic changes. I just don't expect it. I think the Texas will finish the rest of their roster. They have 3 spots left. I think they'll use a couple of spots. I think they're looking around the globe for a guard. But I think it's all going to come down to, I hate to use the term, is the juice worth the squeeze on some of this stuff? What are the expectations of a kid that would come in from across the pond? That does the agent say, I want him to play 25 minutes a game? Well, that can't be guaranteed. Texas has a solid 10 right now, and they're looking to build into that. So we'll see where it goes. I think I could see Texas taking a high school prospect as a developmental player too, or an international developmental player as one of their 12 spots. But I do think they'll fill 12 spots. I'm not sure they'll use all 13.
Hey, before we go to the next topic, I want to put something out there to everybody, if you don't mind. Jerry, myself, Jeff Howe, yesterday on State of the Program, we talked about each individual position group or pass rush versus run defense, et cetera. And we tried to say whether or not Texas would be better or worse at each position. Okay. In 2025 versus 2024. What, if you didn't watch the video, I want to ask the chat this. What are some that you think are going to be better and what are some that you think are going to be worse? And the problem I have when I did that video, and Jerry, you and I talked about it, is some of them I think are going to be really close. Like the difference may be minimal. Okay. But you had to go one way or the other. What are the ones that can be a lot better and a lot worse in y'all's opinion? And Jerry, now I'm going to ask you, which ones are the ones that you think could be a lot better or a lot worse for 2025 Texas football versus 2024?
I was making sure there wasn't like burnt orange, like water here.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just the natural recruiting process as you recruit top 5 classes and you're a blue blood in the portal. I think Texas is going to be better at a lot of spots next year. And I think that's a natural progression of a program that's recruiting at a really high level. And I think it's also part of this team hasn't climbed the mountaintop yet. So there's not really that hint of entitlement in terms of winning games and young kids walking in and just expecting it to happen. I think quarterback, running back, I think are 2 I look at. Like people call me crazy. I'm not sure wide receiver won't be because it's not on paper. Last year, everybody remembers I thought Texas was going to be a better team and a faster team a year ago. And but that team on paper, what happened on the field was a lot of injuries. So I could see wide receiver being better because Isaiah Bond missed half the year. And that changed the offense for Texas. That really changed what they wanted to do. And then Cedric Baxter got hurt at running back, obviously. And you lost 2 running backs before the season. I could see wide receiver. Look, Texas has 2 wide receivers that started in the national semifinal game and are bringing in a true freshman starter from Stanford. I mean, they actually have it's if there's injuries that set in, what does that do? Because then you have younger kids behind them. But Texas bringing back 2 wide receivers that started in the national semifinal game. The University of Texas has never done that before. Offensive line, I think there's some. I think the continuity is the question. The talent is there. I think it's just you lose Kelvin Banks, great player, but I think they could be better athletes on the interior this year. Does that mean they're going to have the continuity? I don't know. I think edge. Baron Sorrell's a huge loss in terms of leadership, the day-to-day great against the run, but I can't look at this roster and talent-wise say they're not going to be better. Colin Simmons may be the best defensive player in college football, and Ethan Burke's a senior, and you have so much versatility around that group. I think linebacker is going to be the best group of linebackers, most talented group of linebackers Texas has had in many, many years. Then it comes down to secondary, and secondary is kind of like offensive line for me. It's continuity. 3 new coaches, two great players gone. What does that look like from a continuity and communication standpoint, and how long does it take it all to click from a guys coaching together for the first time and new talent, infusion of new starters and talent? When does that all come to? That's actually the position that worries me most in the Ohio State game right now. And I think specialists, they're way better. Special teams, they got to clean up the bad penalties. Matthew Golden never had a chance to be a difference maker as a return man last year because it was a flag every time. They have to clean up the penalties. The specialists themselves, the kicker and punter, are going to be better. But what does the rest of special teams look like around it? I think Texas is going to be a better team next year. I'm on record. Does that mean they're going to win as many games? I don't know. I think they're going to be a better team because it's naturally the talent added to the program, the growth of a program when you're recruiting at this level.
It's interesting. I did a little bit differently. Jerry, I'm high on this team now, so I want to be clear. I think 10 games is going to be the number that you would think Texas will at least win next year. Okay, so I'll put that out there right now. So take it all in context. But the only position on offense that I think is going to be better this year than last year is quarterback. Like, I think running back, Jade Blue scored 14 touchdowns. And until Cedric Baxter is back, who's going to be that guy out of the backfield that scores 14 touchdowns? Now, Trey Wisner is better. They have more depth.
They're going to be better runners.
Yeah. I mean, if maybe. I mean, so my point is running back is a maybe for me. I mean, it's wide receiver. I just don't think you can replace a first-round pick like that. I think that Ryan Wingo eventually will be that person, and he's a year older. Maybe his eyesight helps him. I don't know, but I put a little bit down on that. Tight end, I mean, they had 2 last year that were ready to go. Do they have 2 ready to go this year? Well, injuries is still not even on campus. And, given this is one thing I'll say about the tight end position at Texas, it's very multifaceted. So you got to be a smart player. Let's see if injuries can pick up all this stuff, right? Maybe he can, maybe he can't. He's a walk-on at Cal, which means he's probably pretty smart. Or he was a walk-on.
Yeah.
O-line, I think, may be better at the end of the year than they are at the start. But I think they're so really quarterback was the only one that I went and said, hey, I think that quarterback position, especially over the last half of the season, is going to be better. Defense is different. To Jerry's point, linebacker, I put much stronger. Just think about it this way. Texas loses David Benda, who is a little bit of a heart and soul guy of the defense, and they lose Mo Blackwell, who was kind of the heart and soul of special teams, frankly. So they do lose 2 key pieces, but they add Brad Spence. They move Trey Moore there. They've got an older Anthony Hill. They've got an older Ty Anthony Smith, an older Leonga Lafau. They got a newcomer in Bo Barnes. I agree with Jerry. I think linebacker probably the most improved because I think linebacker is getting ready to be a force at Texas. Does that make sense?
They're going to look like the best SEC teams physically, athletically.
Yes, at linebacker.
And now they're going to have experience. Brad Spence, I mean, they had a Brad Spence who, I mean, look, they're going to – I said this on the show, but they're actually going to – and I'm not saying they're going to be as good. They're going to look like the Georgia linebackers physically when they roll out next year on the field. I mean – That's what they're going to look like, that high-end SEC team physically at linebacker. The last 2 years, they've been really good, but they haven't looked like that. To your point, Bobby.
Yeah, I agree. My thought process is that the one that I am worried about more than any other position is secondary. So, and they're right next to each other, linebacker and secondary, right? And so of all the positions, while I think that there are going to be issues on offense that they have to kind of coalesce around and figure out who they are, the secondary gives me the biggest heartburn going into next year. Because if you don't get secondary right, it could cause a collapse on defense. And we've seen that before. We've seen it before. So that's the one that scares me the most. Scares the wrong word, but concerns me the most. Specialist, Jerry's right. I mean, Jack Bowmeister is just better than Michael Kern. I mean, 5 yards better.
So that's one thing too, is what can take a defense. One of the things that can take a defense from very good to great is a punter that can flip the field. And look, I think Michael Kern will go on to be a good punter wherever he lands. He was just a young guy last year. I mean, Bowmeister his freshman year wasn't the punter he has become. But Bowmeister can flip a field. So you actually have a chance to win the field position a little more defensively, especially if you don't turn the ball over as much. But have a chance to win and command field position more for your defense this year than last year. I think that could be big early game one, by the way, because you are going to have to punt the football against Ohio State. So if you have one of the better guys in college football punting it for you, you can flip a field or you can command some field position for your defense when Ohio State's starting a whole new offensive line with a first-year starting quarterback, new running backs, talented guys, but still, that could be big in the game.
Okay, guys, I need to tell everyone out there about Huel. And if you're constantly on the move or you're just tired of skipping meals, Huel has you covered. Their Black Edition ready to drink is a total game changer. It's a complete meal in one bottle, 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar. You're going to feel full, focused, and ready for your day. No prep, no cleanup, just grab it and go. And Huel's already sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it's your turn to try it. New customers get 15% off plus a free gift at Huel.com when you use promo code ONTexas. And I've said it all week. I have 3 kids, so the mornings are crazy for me. I'm trying to get them off, going to school, trying to prepare for coffee and football. It's very, very hectic. And that's where Huel Black Edition comes in. It's my go-to. I grab it out of the fridge, give it a good shake, and I'm ready to go. It keeps me full, energized, and focused so I can tackle whatever the day may throw at me. Obviously, it's a time saver as well. They take the guesswork and time out of healthy eating. No prep, no cooking, just a quick, nutritious meal. So start saving time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers of 15% plus a free gift when you use code ONTexas at Huel.com. Again, 15% off, plus you get a free gift, and the gift is nice too. For new customers using promo code ONTexas at Huel.com. Please see their description for terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition in bottle form. Well, we have some super chats that we need to get to as well. By the way, Jeff Carey, thank you for your super chat. We did talk about the 25 to 30 million earlier in the show. If you rewind to probably around the 10-minute mark, Bobby and Jerry go in depth on that one. So be sure to check that out. But thank you. And then Jack wants to know, will Akina help Jeff Banks with special teams?
Yes, because I saw him out there working with the Gunners that very first practice. So Banks is working with protection, coverage, that sort of thing. Dwayne was working with the Gunners. So my guess is it's usually special teams is a group activity, if that makes sense. Some people handle the actual specialists. Some people handle the up back. Some handle the line and coverage. Some handle the gunners. So, for example, just on punting alone, those different parts of it. And then not to mention, punt block versus punt block going after a punt versus punt return. There's a lot of different pieces. But, yeah, I think Dwayne, I think Coach Akina is going to work on work with the Gunners, it looked like to me from that very first practice. Now, they could change it. And I think I will say this, Texas has done overwhelmingly a good job overall during Sark's tenure on special teams. Last year, they did not do as good a job because punting was off and Bert Auburn was off. And Jerry mentioned all those penalties, which, by the way, once Amari Niblack was no longer on special teams, the penalties went down a little bit too. So I think that all coaches will help on special teams. I think Banks has a pretty good handle on it, or a good handle on it.
Let's follow up with this one real quick. It's actually an interesting question. Who's the backup punter if the starter gets hurt? Ratliff is gone. Michael Kern is gone. It may be Mock Anning.
Who?
Mock Anning.
Where's he from, Jerry? Give us the.
That's the punter, Arch Manning.
Oh.
Mock Anning on quick kick.
It could be.
I mean,
he probably punted in high school. He's probably got a hell of a leg.
Yeah.
No, you're not. I was trying to like Mock Anning. What is it?
Mock Anning.
There we go. Could be.
Yeah.
Not a bad thought, actually. By the way, congrats to Ian Ratliff. Jerry, you followed him in high school. He's from Atascocita, right?
Yeah.
I talked to his father and all this other stuff when he was being recruited. He actually chose to go to the University of Texas as a walk-on, was recruited as a preferred walk-on to Texas. He went in the portal because he had lost the job to Michael Kern, and then Texas went out and got Jack Bomeister. He is now transferred to Appalachian State to finish out his career. We wish him good luck. We also wish Malik Ogbo good luck. Malik did his best for the University of Texas. He transferred now to West Virginia as well. And Freddie DeBose, who was not on the Texas roster this spring, has transferred, we believe, to Sacramento State. He'll play for Brennan Marion, who's now the head coach at Sacramento State. So, interesting.
Okay, here, let's see. Our next super chat comes from Jose Rodriguez. Thank you, Jose. And he says, Bobby and Jerry, on portal players, is there a large difference between lower P4 players and elite G5/FCS players? I ask for poverty OU's sake.
There is, but I think it's individually. Like some FCS players are ready to go. Yeah. One of them just got picked in the first round of the NFL draft from North Dakota State.
I was looking at it. I was actually pulling up Oklahoma's final. It's not final, but what is their portal class right now? I'm sure they'll add one or two more guys.
They added a receiver yesterday, I think.
Yeah,
from FCS school.
Yeah, Jermichael Carter. I was looking at Ricky Lolohea from Utah State, big guy over the ball for them. Interior offensive lineman from Stanford, running back from Cal. Mitopure, obviously, he's more of a power 4 guy, even though they didn't play it this year. But yeah, they definitely have. They've definitely gone deep into the scouting book for their 20 portal additions. 20. That's a big number, man. When your job's on the line, that's a big number.
Then we have a super chat from Cole Dickerson. And Cole says, gentlemen, y'all do an amazing job. Thank you. Glad I made the switch from Rivals. On 3 over a year ago. Can you divulge how close Art Briles was to becoming the head football coach?
I actually can on this. It's kind of crazy. I think, Bobby, and you may say this is a little off, but they definitely had interest.
Oh, yeah.
And they definitely wanted Art to come to Austin to talk to them. And Art said, my interview's on the field. You either want me or you don't.
Yeah. Yep. I think look, he wasn't willing to go through an interview process, and Texas wanted an interview process.
Yeah.
Would he have got the job?
Yes.
He interviewed. I think he would have been a likely hire, because at that point in time, none of the off-field issues had surfaced to a level where they would be untenable for a team like the University of Texas. And so, yes, Jerry's right. If he would have chosen to interview, I think he would have been the odds-on favorite. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But, some of the things that by not taking the interview and going through that process, it exposed Art Briles in a way that, hey, maybe that's all he cared about was what happened on the field. So, I mean, Texas got lucky there.
All right. Well, you're watching Coffee and Football presented by Von Lane. And speaking of Von Lane, Bobby, I think it's time for you to tell everybody about Von Lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Will do. If you're tired of the hassle of flying or driving in the state of Texas, driving yourself on I-35, I-45, or I-10, it's stressful. Airports include long lines, security seats, cramped seats. Just getting to your destination feels exhausting, much less driving yourself back to those places in the same day or the very next day. Next time you need to travel between Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, or San Antonio, skip the stress and ride Von Lane, your private jet on wheels. Arrive just minutes before departure at one of Von Lane's centrally located, luxurious hotel partners. Settle into your spacious reclining seat with tons of leg room and personal space. Enjoy complimentary snacks, drinks, Wi-Fi, and even meals on select departures, all while you sit back and relax. Experience travel the way it should be. No stress. Visit vonlane.com. Use promo code OTF25 for just $20 off your very first trip. That's OTF25 for $20 off your first trip. Von Lane, first class travel without the hassle. And remember, all these destinations they have in these various cities are very centrally located. Allow you to get there via car. Somebody can drop you off and keep your car there. Good place, vonlane.com. Get on the bus.
Well, we have time for a few more questions this morning, fellas. And Donald wants to know who's going to be the field goal holder.
I would imagine Jack Bomeister or Will Stone, maybe one of the other specialists, so they officially can work at it more. Frankly,
I don't think
that changed about 15 to 20 years ago because it used to be the backup quarterback. Now they've gotten to where it's usually another specialist that holds.
Yeah,
Jerry?
I mean, so that's likely, right? Mock Anning. No, we don't want him holding. KJ Lacey, probably not. You give up a red shirt. But in the future, watch out for something like that in year two. By the way, there's a video going around of him throwing down in the UT Rec Center, right? Dunking it. Blake, have you seen this? I got to send it to you.
You'll have to send it.
We'll have to bring this up. Hold on.
It's a two-handed off the dribble.
He's got a lot of hops. That kid,
Yeah,
he's got a 40-inch vertical on him. There's no doubt because I've seen him in person.
Yeah. Well, while you look for that, Bobby, one thing we need to remind people is baseball starts tonight. Starts a little early, normally Friday through Sunday, but not this week as Texas goes to Arkansas over to Fayetteville. That game starts tonight at 6 p.m. and it'll be televised on ESPN2, followed by Friday at 7 and then Saturday at 2. And those games will be on the SEC network. Big series.
Is Rojas Ruger going to be the starter again tonight, you think?
I believe that is going to be the case. And I think we talked about it earlier in the week, but one thing worth mentioning for sure, Arkansas lost their best reliever this week. So that's a big knock on them. And then I was looking at the RPI predicted results. They actually have Texas losing tonight, but then winning the series on Friday and Saturday. So we'll see what happens, of course, but that's, on Saturday, they have them winning 10-1. So I think Texas fans would be very happy if that happened, but we'll see.
Arkansas is Texas currently number one in the conference, number one in the country, actually 19-2 in conference. Arkansas is 14-7 in conference, and they're tied for second. So Texas literally has a 5-game lead in the SEC.
Yeah. Crazy.
That is just freaky. By the way, they're tied with LSU at 14-7. So, take that for what it's worth as well. So Tennessee, I think, is 13-8, defending national champions. It'll come down to the next couple of weeks. If Texas can just win one more of these series, I think they're really close to clinching. because some of these teams play one another.
Yeah.
I mean, they've still got what, 4 more weekends, Blake?
Let's see, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia. So 3.
3 more weekends. So 9 games left, 5-game lead. It's pretty strong.
Yep. All right, Jerry, we got a question for you from David Keith Williams. And he says, Jerry, considering it seems Texas is now recruiting Jalen Lott more as a wide receiver than as a corner, and seeing the athletic talent of Jermaine Bishop, where do you think they both fit in best at Texas?
Well, I think Jalen Lott, if he wants to play wide receiver, he plays wide receiver. And Jermaine Bishop's interesting because I legitimately, I think they're very similar in this, from this standpoint. They can both be equally good on either side of the ball. I really believe that. And as return guys. And that's why Texas just wants those guys. And, you know, it's kind of like Michael Terry, but different. You just want those level players in your program and figure it out. Now, with Jalen Lott moving more to wanting to play wide receiver, obviously that shifts his recruitment. You saw Chris Jackson lead the in-home visit earlier this week with Lott and his family, with Mark Orfe also there. Because you have to recruit him as such, but with wide receiver taking precedence. With Jermaine Bishop, I think you can recruit him more as an athlete. So more as a true athlete and kind of figure it out once he gets there. But that's the great thing about those two guys is I think they could be equally as successful on either side of the ball. And there's not that many players you really say that about. Michael Terry. I think Jonah Williams as a wide receiver could be just as good as safety. Bishop, Jalen Lott. There may be a couple of those guys in each class that you can truly say that about. And that's 2 of them. And they're 2 of the better prospects in the country with the ball in their hand or return kicks or covering guys. But I think Jalen Lott's transitioning more to wanting to play wide receiver for sure versus what Jermaine Bishop is right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, David Keith Williams, on your comment, you said it seems like Texas is recruiting him more as a wide receiver now. There's no seems. They are recruiting him. This is a young man out of Frisco, Panther Creek, Jermaine Bishop down in the Houston area at Willis, for those unaware. You know, Jerry, sometimes guys are just hyper talented. And you got to make that decision as a coach. You know, I remember, and I remember other guys that Texas looked at it in multiple spots. I mean, Quandre Diggs, is he a running back? Is he a cornerback? What is he? We don't know what he is. Well, he played high school quarterback at times,
Right.
played running back at times. I mean, he played everything that they had. Earl Thomas played linebacker at 5'10", okay, at times. There are guys that you just say, okay, you kind of break the mold. Let's deal with it. And Bishop and Lott appear to be those type of guys for this Texas staff.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think in a lot of times you're best if they develop at a certain position. Jelani McDonald was that way.
Yeah.
He played high school quarterback more than anything else. And especially the smaller schools, you get those guys or have to do it all. But if they're the best athlete in the school, best player on the football team. But yeah, look, I think a lot of your best players, and it's also why we talk about multi-sport athletes, by the way. A lot of those guys didn't develop into be the best players were multi-sport athletes and guys that played a lot of, and that we're not talking OL here. That's different. Even quarterbacks that are multi-sport athletes that that have athletic instincts, period. You know, you can take Quandre Diggs and say, all right, you got to play quarterback, and he'll find a way to move the chains and he'll find a way to complete the forward pass, even if he doesn't throw it really pretty at times. He'll get in the return game and have an instinctive feel for the return game without you having to tell him how to set up a block and how to set up your return. At safety, at corner. I mean, it's just instinctive, athletic instincts for those guys. Anything they do, they seem to really. Jonah Williams is that way. Baseball, I watched him play basketball in varsity game that night. Dan Lanning was there watching him play. Baseball, the great guys have athletic instincts. They're multi-sport guys. It shows in everything they do, every position they play. And I think a lot of times those guys end up being your best players if they maximize their talent. Earl Thomas, roll left, said, yeah, when I went to watch him play against Jasper, in fact, athletic instincts, Sean Weatherspoon was a linebacker / receiver for Jasper. Ended up going on to be first-round pick. He also probably played some running back for them in the red zone. Earl Thomas, the night I was there, played running back, corner, return, safety, block kicks. That's one of the reasons I'm so high on Nick Townsend, guys. It's, yeah, he's big and fast, but the dude literally played worked out at 8 different positions at a high school practice I was at. Short snapper, long snapper, edge, linebacker, wildcat quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, kickoff return team, punt block team. I mean, those guys just have athletic instincts. And though you want enough of those guys in your program, you can't have too many, but you want enough of those guys in your program where you can mold them in one position. And those guys normally end up being tremendous players.
So, Jerry, Texas just had a highly athletic class. We talked about Michael Terry, Jonah Williams, Nick Townsend. Who are those guys in this class outside of Lott and Bishop? Is there anybody else that you're like, okay, whatever position they want to play? Any of those guys out west?
Okay, not committed. Obviously, there's not many commits in this class, but Devon Benjamin came off that way to me talking to him Saturday.
Okay.
I just think that guy, he could corner, nickel, safety, whatever. Had a little Jahdae Barron feel that guy's just got instincts for it, right? He's just got those athletic instincts. You could just tell by talking to him. I'm going down the list of guys. We talked about the 2. I'm trying to think. I'm not sure there's as many of those guys right now. I'm looking at the list here. I'm not sure there's that many of those guys right now. Give me through the spring. Give me through May, early next year to see kind of some of these guys. But there may not be as many of those guys in this class on the surface. Now there's multi-sport guys that throw the shot or discus or whatnot, but I think that's a little different than what you're asking.
We have a super chat to close on. Nick wants to know who's the best recruit to come out of Round Rock.
Ooh, wow.
Well, Aaron Williams is Round Rock McNeil.
Yep, he would probably be the highest drafted one, wouldn't he?
I'm looking at the notable. I'm going to the wiki pages of the high schools. Ryan Langerhans, pretty good baseball player. Are we talking all sports? John Henson in basketball, went to North Carolina, drafted in the NBA.
I think you got to stick to football.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Aaron Williams unless somebody else has somebody higher.
Yeah, I'm going. I just went through Round Rock's wiki. I'm going through.
OJ McClintock was a good player, but never.
Our Scott Linebrink from McNeil, Armani Brooks, NBA player, AJ Abrams, McNeil, but not Aaron Williams is football. Yeah, I mean I think Aaron Williams is probably going to take it right now.
If anybody lives up there and has somebody else, let us know. By the way, on that, if there is somebody that we're missing.
Ben Johnson's one for baseball. Went to Texas.
And a few in baseball. Yeah.
So, and had football offers coming out of high school as well. Okay. Well, I think that's it for today, fellas.
Hey, we're not going to give up. We can make that happen. No, we don't. You don't need that. You don't want that.
He wants a Jerry Hamilton autograph to OTF.
I will. We're not going to give away, but we're scheduled to have a really cool guest tomorrow morning. But sometimes these things fall through. We're hoping it doesn't fall through because I think you guys would love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Love it. I hope so. Dave actually comes with Deuce Vaughn out of Cedar Ridge. That's a good one. Round Rock, Cedar Ridge, the new school. That's a good one. In fact, he may end up being number 2 to Aaron Williams.
Well, Bobby, what do you have later today for folks?
We got obviously the winning drive this afternoon with Rod Babers and CJ Vogel. Football theory coming. And then we've got a lot of news and notes coming on OnTexasFootball.com as well. Jerry tracking some official visits that might be breaking later today as well. So got a full plate. Please join us here at On Texas Football. Like I said, 80,000 and growing excited about entering the month of May, 1st of May, ready to get towards summertime right now. So
That's
excited. But we have a lot of stuff going on On Texas Football.
There you go. And be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate all your support. As Bobby said, ring the bell so you're notified anytime we post content, go live. And then if you're not a member of
you got to play the Lacey dunk video on our way.
We're having some issues.
We'll play it tomorrow for you guys.
I will make sure we have it for tomorrow. I have been trying since I converted it a second ago. But yeah, on TexasFootball.com, become a member using promo code OTFOG. We'll save you a little money with that. You can lock in an annual subscription for $49.95, only if you use that promo code OTFOG. Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow, fellas. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hug 'em horns.